documents. The prosecutor was also advised that those documents had been secured in an archives facility. On November 9th, the FBI commenced an assessment.
Hi everyone, if you have a TV on in the background, please turn it down. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It was in public interest to appoint a special counsel. In the days since, while Mr. Lausch continued the investigation,
Mr. Bell.
Hi Barbara, how's it going?
I'm finding you. Oh, yeah, I have something to say. Miss Sandra Edwards, she texted me this morning and stated that she will not be in on the Zoom meeting because she had to go to her grandson's funeral today.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Barbara, for letting me know. But let's keep Sandra in our prayers, okay?
Okay, I do.
But thanks for letting us know.
Okay.
I hope everyone's having a great Thursday. We'll be starting in about 10 or 15 or so minutes, just letting other folks get on. But again, I hope everyone's having a great day.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Good. How my beautiful smiling faces doing today? Have y'all started class or something?
Hi,
No,
Iris. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Y'all so quiet. Ain't but one person on here.
I'm on now.
I'm getting ready to say I don't hear no voices.
I'm trying to get the thing to show faces, but for some reason my
But what I'm saying is all about today's thing, all about Martin Luther King.
that's all I'm saying too.
Let me see. Let me find me some faces. Let me see. Turn off. I ain't seeing nothing either. But y'all gonna have to do a roll call because I wasn't on here this morning. I was doing a nature walk. So
Oh, a nature walk. It was
yeah,
interesting.
I was out walking, looking at the birds and the flowers and the trees and all that other good stuff and the squirrels and
I
everything.
hope you took it in so you could tell me about it because I can't do that no more.
Oh, that's okay. Pull it up on your screen or something. So, but yeah, it was nice. A pretty nice day today. Kind of cloudy, but it still wasn't cold or anything of that nature. So I decided to just go for a little walk. That's why I wasn't on earlier today when you all was doing your luncheon.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Ruby.
Hello. I've been wondering whether I'll be on the line or not. 'Cause I'm having a little trouble, but now I see I am on the line.
Yes, you
Hi,
are.
Miss Ruby.
And we see your
Thank you.
smiley face, Miss Ruby.
Yeah, because I wanted to thank y'all for my birthday wish to have a happy birthday, which I did have a happy birthday. I was with my grandkids and children.
Okay.
So I had a happy birthday.
Hello. Well, happy birthday, Miss Ruby. Hi, Miss Lorraine. How you doing?
Hi, happy belated.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday. That's good. As long as you're enjoying yourself.
With this thing.
Hey, Dina, how you doing?
I'm here. How are you, Miss Dolores?
Great, great. Hi, Brenda.
Hey,
Hi,
Dolores.
I'm doing roll call because I can't see no faces. Allie done put the screen up here. Allie, you messing up.
Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Hello.
hello.
Forget
There
my
you go.
There you go. Did I fix it? Did I fix it, Dolores?
Yeah, you fixed it.
yeah, you fixed it. Yeah. Thank you.
We know
Alex.
you're going to take care of us.
Hi, Miss Dana.
Oh, no, is that Portia? Oh,
Yes,
oh,
it is. Yes, it is.
Portia. How you doing, Portia?
Where's Miss Portia?
Right
She
here.
Miss Portia been playing hide and seek, y'all.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not. No, I'm not. No.
Portia, you been
Hi,
MIA.
Miss.
Look at these
She
little
hiding. We got
snacks.
to seek and look for her. She been hiding, so we had to go seek and look for Miss Portia.
And
We been
right.
doing the disappearing act.
How you doing?
Hey, how you
sweetie.
doing, Miss Carolyn?
Fine.
Good. I see that smiling
Everybody.
face.
Hi, Miss Dana.
Hello, lady.
Hi.
How you feeling?
I'm just here.
Miss
Good to
Diane.
see you too. Don't pay them no attention. Just stay with me. You're gonna be all right.
Oh, Lord, don't do
Especially
that.
don't play.
No,
Don't
don't
play
hang
no-
with Portia. She been
Don't
missing.
hang with Portia. Tell her,
Don't pay
Brenda.
no attention to Miss Washington.
Brenda,
Okay.
tell her
Afternoon,
about it.
ladies, again.
How y'all doing?
Hey, Brenda,
Fine.
how you doing?
This
Hello.
Thelma.
Hey.
Hi, Thelma.
Hi,
How y'all
Thelma.
doing? Where Portia go?
There's
Nothing.
Dina. Hi, Dina.
Hey,
Hi.
Ruby.
Hey,
I don't know why my phone acting like this.
Portia.
Yeah. Hey, Miss Garrett, how you
Hey,
doing?
babe, how you doing?
I'm fine. How you?
Hi, Miss Garrett.
Fine. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's I'm a
Where's
man.
Donald and Diane? Where's Diane Leach?
Going
Hi, Miss
somewhere.
Wanda. Miss Wanda, I see you looking at us. You got your mic off.
Yeah.
Hey, Miss Gracie. How you
I've
doing?
been speaking.
Gracie.
I've been speaking to you all and didn't realize my mic was off.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Miss Ruby.
Gracie.
What they doing? Don't worry
Hey,
about them. Don't worry about me. Stay
don't
with
worry
me,
about
Miss Ruby. I got your back.
Do
Okay.
not stay with Portia. I'm giving y'all the warning. Anybody but Portia.
uh,
Hi, Miss Betty Taylor.
Dana, come on, give me a smile.
Miss Ruby, can you got your mic on?
You
Think
talking to
so.
me?
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
you
Dana,
got it
give us
on.
a
You
smile.
got it on.
Somebody talking to
You
me?
got it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
am. And I said I want to see
Hi,
your
Miss
pretty
Ann.
smile.
I don't
Hi,
have one.
Dina.
Oh, yes, you
You
do.
better
Yes,
get
you do,
one.
Dina.
Get one
Yes, you do.
now.
You have a
That's all
beautiful
right.
smile.
Hi,
Tina.
Brenda.
They gonna have
Oh,
of it.
Hey,
what's
poor
the matter?
girl.
How you doing, Brenda?
Hi,
You
Miss
know, we made
Ruby.
it.
Miss Ruby
Good, good.
McRae, how you doing?
I'm
We
doing
made it
fine.
through COVID.
Good.
I'm fine because now I know I'm on the line.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Coming on,
Can I
but I
say
didn't know what I
something?
was doing, but I finally got it.
yeah,
There
you
you
got
go.
it.
It takes time. You did it.
Yes, it does.
I'm
And
You
we
glad
know,
see
we
your
made
that.
it
smiley
through the
face at that.
COVID.
That's even better.
Hello.
I'm
We
glad
made it
that
through the COVID or my family without anybody passing.
That's a blessing.
And it's a sad thing is when anybody passed, but you get through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Because usually that's when somebody passed.
Mhm.
So thankfully, got through it this time.
Amen.
All right.
And then I got that call Saturday that one of my cousins passed.
Oh,
He was 94 years old,
Mm.
but he just passed the old age.
Yeah.
oh,
He was
yeah.
still driving and
What?
yeah,
Oh, great.
but at least he wasn't ill to be suffering anything.
Uh-huh.
And he was the oldest of 5 boys. And he was the only one living. All the other
Oh,
young
really?
passed.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey,
How you
Diane.
doing?
So, you know, you just
Hello.
look at your family that's just dying away, you know.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them that surviving getting dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right. Somebody turn your TV off, please.
Hello.
I was looking for you, Diane. Hey, Portia.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Happy
It's
Thursday,
10:30. We'll be
Allison.
starting in a couple minutes.
Somebody please turn your TV off.
You have to tell them that.
Please, if you're not speaking, put yourself on mute so you don't actually interrupt. Thank you so much.
I'm just gonna put myself on mute too.
Me too.
Hi, Jacqueline. Hope you're well.
How you doing, Alex?
Good.
I just want to put myself on mute so I wouldn't have to hear all of their noise.
And you know, on top of that, not able to attend a funeral or anything.
Yeah.
Because I was always the one took the initiative to go see them in Virginia.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna be all right.
Dina, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
okay.
too.
It's okay.
It seems like this was the
He
weekend.
lived his
for it.
life. He lived a good life. He wasn't suffering or anything. He just died of old age.
If he was out driving in a car,
He was a hard
honey,
fighting soldier.
He had his own bus company.
Wow. Hard fighting soldier.
He's gone home to the Lord.
That's right. That's God's reward now.
And
But
they
he's
say
okay.
another angel up in heaven watching over you. That's what we say.
Uh-huh.
Right.
That's right.
Stay strong.
She went home to she did her grandson's service today.
Who?
She put it in the chat, Sandra.
Oh.
Okay.
She said her grandson got killed.
Yes.
She said she wasn't coming on because she was going to his homegoing service today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And they're gonna hurt right there. Learn a
Yeah.
grandchild.
I don't know how old he was. Remember, she said that
I
someone
think it was
gave him
15 to
fentanyl.
16, wasn't it?
I don't know. She didn't say, but she said that wherever he was, they gave him fentanyl. And you know, that stuff is deadly.
Yeah, he was on
yeah.
Good Oak Road Southeast. I seen it on the news. He was on Good Oak Road Southeast. He's right between Good Oak Road and Martin Luther King because they showed it on the news. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because and then them target spots, like if it was a store time was open, somebody in the store would have a kit to bring him out of it. So they
Oh,
know people what they're doing now. If you know somebody gonna be dealing with the stuff on the street, get them a fentanyl kit that when they get ready to go out of it, somebody can shoot them and they come back.
Mm.
And anybody can get the kit, and anybody can measure. All you gotta do is just stick it in a person. And once you stick
That's
it in
called
it,
Narcan, right? Isn't it
I
called
think so.
Narcan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I knew you get them at the drugstore free, and you can get them from the firehouses
Oh, okay.
and the
That's
clinic
good to
during the day. Yeah,
You can stick them, you can just stick them anywhere, not in a vein or nothing.
that's what I seen instructed. But you go back online, go on Google and get more direction.
Oh, well, I'm not going to try to stick nobody. I'm gonna stay in my house. I ain't got.
Well, if something happened outside my door and I could help, I'm coming to stick them.
Exactly.
I'm gonna come stick them. I ain't gonna come shoot them. I'm gonna come stick them.
Right, right.
You said you saw it on the news about
Yeah, I had a workshop where I used to live in Ward 8 and I'm over in Ward 7. So when Ward 8 get workshops online or whatever, I'd be online with them. So they did a big workshop on it because we over there in Ward between 7 and 8, we were having too many people die because that's where the shelter at for the men's.
Yeah.
That's where the largest shelter in Washington, D.C. at for all the men's over there on St. Louis property.
So he was in a shelter?
I don't know, but he probably hung around
I
there.
don't know if he was in the shelter or on the street or fell out on the
Yeah,
street
I
or
think he
what.
was just on the street. But most of them that age, if they out there doing that, they won't go back home. They be in the shelter or living on the street itself. You see what I'm saying?
Is that fentanyl a pill or something?
No, fentanyl is
No,
a drug. Well, some of it is pills, and some people grind it up and put it in a needle.
Oh,
Nah,
okay.
but it's already in a kit.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a kit. It's a little bottle with a gun on it, and you just take it out the
Everyone,
paper
happy
and
Thursday.
use it.
Hello.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone.
Hey,
Again,
Alice.
thanks for
Hey,
coming.
Alex.
We're at 50 folks, so I thought it would be a good even number for us to start off today. So I'm really excited to share this with you today. I learned a lot myself, and it always makes you think when you learn something new. So it's going to be, we're going to be watching a video. We're going to be learning some facts. So if you have a pen and paper nearby, just to jot down, something that you learned, please do so.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and share the presentation beforehand, just so that way everyone is able to hear all the videos and other such. I'll make sure to mute everyone. So if you have a question or if you'd like to respond to the question, please hit more and then raise your hand. So that way I can call on you, so that way you can answer the question. But again, I want to make sure everyone is able to hear everything clearly. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. Okay?
Okay.
Hey, Dolores, can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, awesome. So just let me know if you can't hear or can't see the screen, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So today, we will be going over Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is observed this year on Monday, the 16th. So of course, since it's a holiday, there will be no sessions on Monday. So these are, just wanted to let you guys know, our library sessions, our face-to-face sessions are back next Thursday. So again, if you want any tech support or you have any questions that you want answered in person, on Thursday, January 19th, we'll be at Petworth Library, 4200 Kansas Avenue from 1:30 to 4:30. On Monday, January 23rd, we'll be at Capitol View, 5001 Central Avenue, Southeast, from 12:30 to 3:30. On Tuesday, January 24th, we will be at Cleveland Park Library, 3310 Connecticut Avenue, from 12:30 to 3:30. And then on Wednesday, January 25th, we will be at Shepherd Park, 7420 Georgia Avenue Northwest, from 12:30 to 3:30. So if you'd like to reserve your time slot, please call the help desk at 202-800-6868 or email library@wildtech.org, just so that we know what you need assistance with, so we can prepare beforehand, so we can give you the best assistance possible at the library. So again, you can find this flyer at the bottom of Teresa's daily reminder, but again, it will also be advertised during the afternoon sessions. Okay. So today, we will be covering different topics regarding Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We will be doing a Did You Know? So I'll be going over 10 things you didn't know about Martin Luther King Jr. We'll be going over the history of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We will also be going over the seniors' impact on MLK Day, and we'll also be having a discussion. So I see that someone said my screen is blurred. Let me
Not on my side.
let me stop sharing my screen and let me redo it, just in case.
Okay, because it was clear here, Alex.
Yeah, it all depends on your connection. So make sure all of you are connected to Wi-Fi if you can, to get the best connection. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. Just Dolores, please let me know if you can see it.
Yes, very clear.
Okay, awesome. So again, we will be going over a Did You Know, history, a little bit about Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the seniors' impact on MLK Day, and we'll also be doing a discussion. So for those of you that join on Tuesday and watch Sama Lord Sama, and also just you can share your personal experience as well. Okay? So first we'll be doing a Did You Know? So I'll be sharing just a very quick overview about Martin Luther King Jr. So Martin Luther King Jr. was a Baptist minister from Atlanta, Georgia, who made history as a civil rights activist in the 1950s and 1960s. He dedicated his life to advocating.
Okay, Alex, that's not showing on the screen.
Yeah, I'm just reading it off.
Okay.
So he dedicated his life to advocating for desegregation, the right to vote, and labor rights, freedoms the Black community did not have at the time. He spent his life preaching Christian values and organizing nonviolent protests across the South. He led the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 and organized the famous March on Washington in 1963, where he gave the famous I Have a Dream speech. In 1964, he won the Nobel Prize for his work to end racial inequality through nonviolent measures. In 1968, King was in Memphis, Tennessee, organizing a national campaign when he was assassinated. Following his death, he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Gold Medal. So that's a quick little overview on Martin Luther King Jr., but you're about to see some facts that you may not have known. So first, King's birth name was actually Michael. It wasn't Martin. He was born Michael King Jr. On January 15th, 1929. In 1934, however, his father, a pastor at Atlanta's Ebenezer Baptist Church, traveled to Germany and became inspired by the Protestant Reformation leader Martin Luther. As a result, King Sr. changed his own name as well as that of his 5-year-old son. Second is King actually entered college at the age of 15. He was a gifted student. He was such a gifted student that he skipped grades 9 and 12 before enrolling at Morehouse College in 1944, the alma mater of his father and maternal grandfather. Although he was the son grandson and great-grandson of Baptist ministers, King did not intend to follow the family vocation until Morehouse president Benjamin E. Mays, a noted theologian, convinced him otherwise. King was ordained before graduating college with a degree in sociology. He received his doctorate in systematic theology as well. So after earning a divinity degree from Pennsylvania's Theological Seminary, he attended graduate school at Boston University, where he received his PhD in 1955. The title of his dissertation was A Comparison of the Conceptions of God and the Thinking of Paul Tillich and Henry Nelson Lyman. His I Have a Dream speech was actually not his first at the Lincoln Memorial. So 6 years before his iconic speech, he was among the civil rights leaders who spoke in the shadow of the great emancipator during the prayer pilgrimage for freedom on May 17th, 1957. Before a crowd about 15 to 30,000, he delivered his first national address on the topic of voting rights. His speech, in which he urged America to give us a ballot, drew strong reviews and positioned him at the forefront of the civil rights leadership. He was also actually imprisoned nearly 30 times. According to the King Center, Dr. King went to jail 29 times. He was arrested for acts of civil disobedience and on trumped up charges, such as when he was jailed in Montgomery, Alabama in 1956 for driving 30 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. How crazy is that, right? Next, he actually narrowly escaped an assassination attempt a decade before his death. So on September 20th, 1958, Dr. King was in Harlem signing copies of his new book in a department store when he was approached by Izola Ware Curry. The woman asked if he was Martin Luther King Jr. After he had said yes, Curry said, "I've been looking for you for 5 years." And she plunged a 7-inch letter opener into his chest. The tip of the blade came to rest alongside his aorta, and he underwent hours of delicate emergency surgery. Surgeons later told King that just one sneeze could have punctured the aorta and killed him. From his hospital bed, where he was for weeks, he issued a statement affirming his nonviolent principles and saying he felt no ill will towards his mentally ill attacker. It's crazy, right? His last speech, public speech, foretold his death. He had come to Memphis in April 1968 to support the strike of the city's Black garbage workers. And in a speech on the night before his assassination, he told an audience at Mason Temple Church, "Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land, and I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." Crazy, right? Member of King's family actually didn't believe James Earl Ray acted alone. Ray, a career criminal, pled guilty to King's assassination, but actually later recanted. King's son Dexter met publicly with Ray in 1997 and argued for the case to be reopened. King's widow, Coretta, believed the mafia and local, state, and federal government agencies were deeply involved in the murder. She praised the results of a 1999 civil trial in which a Memphis jury decided the assassination was the result of a conspiracy and that Ray was set up to take the blame. A U.S. Department of Justice investigation released in 2000 reported no evidence of a conspiracy. King's mother was also slain by a bullet. So on June 30th, 1974, a 69-year-old Alberta Williams King played organ at a Sunday service inside Ebenezer Baptist Church. Marcus Wayne Chenault Jr. rose from the front pew, drew 2 pistols, and began to fire shots. One of the bullets struck and killed King, who died steps from where her son had preached nonviolence. The deranged gunman said that Christians were his enemy and that although he had received divine instructions to kill King's father, who was in the congregation, he killed King's mother instead because she was closer. The shooting also left a church deacon dead. Chenault received a death penalty sentence that was later changed to life imprisonment, in part due to King's family opposition to capital punishment. And the last fact you may not know is that George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Cesar Chavez are the only other Americans to have had their birthdays observed as a national holiday. So in 1983, Ronald Reagan signed a bill that created a federal holiday to honor King. The holiday, first commemorated in 1986, is celebrated on the third Monday in January, close to the civil rights leader's January 15th birthday. So we'll be going more of that history in a few. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed those facts and you learned something new. So now we're going to move on to the history of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So I saw this quote by him, and I really think it's very pertinent and relevant to our lives today. So he said, and this is from a book of sermons that he gave at church. So a classic collection of 16 sermons preached and compiled by MLK. It's called A Gift of Love by Martin Luther King Jr. So he said, we must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. There is some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies. So if anyone would like to respond to that, please raise your hand. Any comments, any thoughts? How do you think this quote applies to today? Okay, go ahead, Diane.
I think it applies today because we see a lot of racial hatred today since the President Trump's era that we've seen in years. It is not that it wasn't there, but it seems more apparent than it was. And we need to be tolerant of each other because I don't understand it. Why you hate me and you don't know me? Yes. In other words, why do you hate my race because I'm Black and you're white? Why do we hate each other when we don't know each other?
Good statement.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Good
I
statement.
definitely agree. Go ahead, Anne.
I piggyback on Diane. The Trump era brought out the Ku Klux Klan, which has never really died out, but they were given permission to run around rapid after Trump got in there. And the bad boys, or whatever they're called, Oak Boys or whatever, they are just a new generation of hate. And I have no idea why people cannot love one another, and I'm not understanding why Blacks are hating other Blacks. That bothers me. We should be united as a people. We should be united to love one another. We should love one another for who you are, not what color you are.
Yes, thank you so much, Anne. I'll take one more hand and then we'll move on. Go ahead, Barbara, unmute.
Okay, the way that I feel like this, I know that King was a Christian man. He lived according to what the Bible says. Even though he had committed adultery, but he still repented. But I feel like hatred was always here. But since Trump came to be the president, he made it more known, and then people feel like that they can be them real self. Instead of hiding it, they brings it out openly.
Yes, very true. Thank you so much. So we're going to move on, but of course we'll be having other discussions as well. So if you want to keep your hand raised, please do so. But again, thank you so much, everyone. So here is a brief history of MLK Day. So after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., Rose Mary Ryan of Kansas City, Kansas, wrote a letter to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, expressing her desire for King's January 15th birthday to be made a national holiday. She stated, "I want Dr. King's birthday declared a national holiday to remind the whole world over for centuries to come that Martin Luther King Jr. suffered and sacrificed his life so that all mankind may one day live together in brotherhood." So on the right, you'll see the actual letter that's now in, we learned that's now in the Library of Congress. It's, it's right there, and it's just crazy how one person, can make a really big impact on, a day. So hundreds of other letters and postcards sent to the SCLC echoed Ryan's message, along with thousands of petitions gathered from around the country. By April 1971, the SCLC had gathered more than 3 million signatures of support. These petitions became part of the records of the House Judiciary Committee. At the time, Congress took no action on the holiday. It wasn't until November 1983, 12 years later, that legislation became law designating the third Monday of every January as the Martin Luther King Jr. national holiday. And then you'll learn it didn't become a state government holiday until 2000. So as you see on the picture on the right, that is Ronald Reagan signing MLK Day into law. So that is a very brief history of how Martin Luther King Jr. Day came to be. Now we're going to watch a video quickly to learn more facts and to see another way of the origin of Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, so Dolores, please let me know if you can hear the audio. Thank you.
Yes. I can hear it.
Why wasn't Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebrated in all 50 states until the year 2000? And what do the NFL, taxes, and Stevie Wonder have to do with it? Most of us are familiar with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for his role in advancing civil rights and his participation in landmark protests, such as the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, the Montgomery bus boycotts, the Selma to Montgomery marches, as well as his involvement in civil disobedience and nonviolence. But even though the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. seems relatively common today, his role in U.S. history was contentious during his years of activism. He was closely monitored by the FBI during his lifetime for his protests. He was arrested approximately 29 times on trumped-up charges for his attempts to change unjust and biased laws. He spoke openly in favor of labor rights and against U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War and racial terror, causing many to label him as anti-American or a communist sympathizer. In 2014, Professor Beverly Gage, a historian at Yale, unearthed a 1964 letter from a supposed detractor who accused King of infidelity and insinuated that he should commit suicide. The letter was later discovered to be sent from the FBI, which was then led by J. Edgar Hoover, a notorious King detractor. Although the discovery of the letter's authorship came over a decade later from the Senate's Church Committee on Intelligence Overreach. And when he was awarded an honorary doctorate from Yale in 1964, certain parents, students, and members of the public expressed outrage at the university's decision. But the tricky part of this conversation is that, yes, Dr. King in some cases broke the law, but those same laws were later overturned when they were discovered to be unjust. So although his legacy is currently celebrated, that was not always the case, making the passage of his federal holiday controversial when it was first proposed. But the pathway to MLK Day becoming a holiday was a rocky one, and here at the Origin of Everything, we thought we'd take this occasion to note some of the important landmarks on the path to how the federal holiday came into existence. Because although it might seem like something of a given to many of us today, the holiday wasn't recognized and celebrated in all 50 states until 2000. That's right, MLK Day was fully recognized nationwide for the first time the month after the world calmed down from Y2K madness. But before we get to what halted the holiday spread, we should first ask ourselves, what were the earliest iterations of Martin Luther King Jr. Day and when did it begin? Beginning in March 1968, MLK was in Memphis in support of the black sanitation workers who had been on strike. On April 3rd, he delivered his final speech, "I've been to the mountaintop," at the Mason Temple. On April 4th, he was shot and killed by James Earl Ray while standing on the second floor balcony outside of his room at the Lorraine Motel. 4 days after his assassination, Congressman John Conyers of Michigan, who recently resigned, introduced the first legislation to make Martin Luther King Jr. Day a federal holiday. By June 26th of that same year, the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Center was founded in Atlanta, Georgia. And on January 15th, 1969, the King Center began to commemorate his birthday with an ecumenical service, which gained attention as a model for other observances of his birthday nationwide. But these were privately held ceremonies and not a federal holiday. So that brings us to our next question. If Martin Luther King Jr. Day began as a series of private observances, then when did it become a federal holiday? And why was there so much resistance to its passage? Well, it seems like there were two camps that formed in resistance to recognizing MLK Day as a national holiday. The first was concerned with King's history as a political objector and activist, while the other was concerned with the cost associated with creating a federal holiday. In 1971, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference collected 3 million signatures in support of making King Day a holiday, and these signatures were presented to Congress, but Congress didn't progress any action to make it a federal holiday that year. Then in 1973, Illinois became the first state to pass legislation making MLK a state holiday, followed by Massachusetts and Connecticut in 1974. And in 1975, the New Jersey State Supreme Court ruled that the state must provide a paid holiday for state employees on MLK Day because of its labor contracts with the New Jersey State Employees Association. From 1975 to 1983, pressure from the public, congressional hearings from King's widow, Coretta Scott King, and calls to action from the National Council of Churches all influenced the conversation around whether Martin Luther King Jr. Day should become a federal holiday in all 50 states. Recording artist Stevie Wonder even got in on the act with the release of his 1980 song Happy Birthday, celebrating the birthday of Dr. King and urging for the holiday to be passed. By 1983, the continued pressure had paid off, and both the Senate and Congress were strongly in favor of the passage of MLK Day, but even with the majority of leaders supporting the passage of the federal holiday, there still remained some holdouts. Senator Jesse Helms of North Carolina came out against the bill, calling King a supporter of radical political views and action-oriented Marxism, before temporarily blocking the Senate action on the House-approved bill in 1983. And although the bill was criticized by Helms, it wasn't universally unpopular or popular along specific party lines, with senators and congressmen and women supporting the bill on either side of the aisle. Then in 1983, the King Holiday Bill was passed, which called for MLK Day to be celebrated on the third Monday in January. The bill received bipartisan support and was sponsored by Democratic Rep. Katie Hull from Indiana and Republican Rep. Jack Kemp of New York. Later that same year, the bill was passed in the Senate, sponsored by Senator Ted Kennedy, before being signed by President Reagan on November 3rd. The holiday was scheduled to begin in 1986. So the first MLK Day was celebrated as a federal holiday in 1986, but it wasn't recognized in all 50 states until 2000. So that brings us to our final question. What happened to the holiday in the 14 years between the scheduled beginning of Martin Luther King Jr. Day and its first nationwide recognition in 2000? Well, in 1984, the King Holiday Commission was formed and chaired by Coretta Scott King, and the holiday was first celebrated in 1986 as planned. But remember when I noted that there were some opposed to passing a federal holiday in honor of King because of the potential cost to taxpayers? Well, with the passage of a federal holiday came the question of paid leave for unionized employees and federal employees. In 1990, only 18% of the 317 corporate employers surveyed by the Bureau of National Affairs provided a paid King holiday. But labor unions were one of the strongest supporters of making MLK Day a federal holiday, especially in light of his support of workers' rights and labor unions. And in fact, waves of strikes or workers refusing to work on King's birthday in the 1970s helped to garner support for making MLK Day a federal holiday. Also, the creation of a federal holiday isn't exactly cheap, and it's different from a national holiday. The 10 recognized federal holidays celebrated today are not technically national holidays. A national holiday would mean that Congress and/or the president has enforced the recognition of a holiday in all 50 states, whereas a federal holiday is a holiday that applies only to federal employees and to the District of Columbia. And with the creation of a holiday that gives time off to federal employees, as well as the potential for paid time off to employees in the private sector, there is an associated cost. A 1999 congressional report notes, supporters of the bill argued that a federal holiday would provide genuine and deserved recognition to Dr. King and the civil rights movement that he led. Opponents maintained that the nation did not need a 10th federal holiday and cited its expense to the taxpayers, an estimated $220 to $240 million a year in lost productivity in the federal workforce and more than $4 billion in the private sector. But even though they were concerned about the cost of providing a holiday, there were instances in which employers and states actually lost money for not recognizing MLK Day. Labor unions are one of the strongest supporters of the making of MLK Day a federal holiday, especially in light of his support of workers' rights and labor unions. And in fact, waves of strikes or workers refusing to work on King's birthday in the 1970s helped to garner support for making MLK Day a federal holiday. In 1991, the National Football League voted to remove the 1993 Super Bowl from Arizona over the state's refusal to recognize MLK Day, deciding to host it in Pasadena instead. By 1992, Arizona passed a referendum establishing a statewide King holiday, which was first celebrated in 1993. But even with these counter-arguments presented against the passage of MLK Day, there was still steadily growing support for the new holiday. Then Governor Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire signed MLK Day into law in 1999, making the year 2000 the first year that the holiday was celebrated in every state nationwide. So, how does it all add up? Well, it seems the path to MLK Day becoming a federal holiday was a rocky one, and although pushback surrounding King's recognition after his assassination was influenced by his legacy as a civil rights leader, another component of the story was surrounding labor organizing alongside individual states and employers being reluctant to offer a paid holiday for employees. But it was the advocacy of unions, the activism of the general public, and the sustained organizing of groups such as the King Center that finally saw this federal holiday recognized across the US. So, what do you think? Have any other resources and insights to share on the origins of this federal holiday? Drop them below. Have a safe long weekend, and we'll see you next week. Hey guys, so we had some great feedback from our holiday episode on why Santa wears red.
Okay, so I hope you guys learned a lot from that video. Dolores, you were able to hear that, correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank you so much. So now we're going to go over Martin Luther King and seniors' impact on MLK Day. So why is Martin Luther King Jr. Day important for seniors? So many seniors may remember well the fight for equality and justice that occurred during the civil rights movement in the 1960s, led by MLK. This means seniors have an important role to play in the modern day fight for equality in educating and influencing younger generations. So basically, just remember that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a day to reflect on the progress that's already been made and the progress that is currently in the works. Some simple ways to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day is because MLK Day is a holiday meant to honor King's fight for racial equality. It's the only federal holiday designated as a national day of service. So again, remember that the day is intended to highlight, again, not only how far we've come, but how far we still have to go to achieve racial equality. Some simple ways to celebrate include spending the day volunteering. So you could spend the day giving back to your community. Just focus on ways that you could support your community in your area. And once you found the best way to contribute, commit to regular service hours or donations throughout the year. You can also celebrate by reading a book. Of course, you don't have to read it on one day, but this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, choose a book or two about King's life and aim to finish them in the next few weeks. Choose a book written by King himself, such as Stride Toward Freedom, The Montgomery Story is the first book that he wrote, or you can pick up an autobiography or collection of his sermons. So for this, I'd recommend going on Libby and seeing if there are any books that you can read through the Libby app. That's what I recommend. You can also listen to King's speeches. So if it's been a while since you've listened to any of his speeches, pick a few to learn this day. Of course, the famous I Have a Dream speech is his most well-known, but there are plenty of other speeches that you may not have heard before. So for this, I would go on YouTube and search for MLK speeches and see if you'd like to listen to any of them. You could also celebrate by watching a documentary. So there's always more to learn about Dr. King than what you may remember from high school or history class. Choose a documentary or two and spend the day learning about King's legacy, and then sit down and really think how you can use his teachings to impact your own community. So again, you could go on YouTube or just search for Martin Luther King documentaries on Safari. And last is you can, teach your kids or grandkids about Dr. King. It's never too early to teach children or somebody about racial equality, and this holiday is the perfect time to introduce the conversation if you haven't done so already. An easy way to start is by reading a book together. There's, especially for younger kids, there's a book called Who Was Martin Luther King Jr. from Target. But there are all different types of ways that you could share how Dr. King has made an impact. Okay. So now we're going to be doing a little bit of a discussion. So I thought of these 4 questions, and if you'd like to answer one of them or respond to someone else, please do so. So one question is, throughout the civil rights movement, people gave their lives so everyone could have the right to vote. Why is it important to protect this right? Another question is, what scene in Selma, Lord Selma, if you attended on Tuesday, had the most impact on you? In what ways will you celebrate Dr. King's legacy this weekend? Or you can answer, what is one new fact that you learned today? So please raise your hand if you'd like to answer. I have 3 hands that are up. So let's see. Go ahead, Anne. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
My thought on the throughout the civil rights movement, I was part of that. I have a funny story. I sneaked on the bus with Howard University students when I was still in high school and went on a march. My mother wanted to kill me, but when I came back and expressed to her that I wanted other people to know that Blacks and white people could live together in harmony and love one another. Being from a mixed family, I wanted to be able to teach my other relatives and children that I came in contact with that love is colorblind, and love should be all people and not be a thing of color. Some Black person is married to a white person, or white person is married to a Spanish person, or Japanese, or whatever. It should be love. Love should be the theme, that all people are equal. And that's what I wanted to teach my child and the children that I was responsible in my life.
Yes, thank you so much. Next up is Georgia Green. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
What I would like to say, he did a lot for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And far as being in Alabama, Selma, Alabama, well, one thing, he did a lot. He really did help those people. But they went through so much in order to try to have things equal the way he was trying to do for the rights of all people, regardless of their race or anything like that. So I do praise him for that. And now I don't know why the people are not seeing what he had done and it's going into them so they can improve. But they are even doing worse. They don't realize what he's been through and what all those other people have been through. So I hope and pray this holiday coming up that some changes will be made for him and for all of us. That's
Yes.
what I'm thinking for, and think that maybe this will penetrate. Just like I say, God only knows, and He knows everything.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Okay.
much for your input, Anna. Next up is Brenda. Go ahead and unmute, Brenda. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
Yes. The scene that had the most impact on me in the movie Selma, was when the people were marching to the courthouse to register to vote. And when one of the ladies went in and the guy told her that she had to guess the number of gumballs in the jar, which was crazy. I thought that was crazy. And the fact that I learned, I didn't know his mother got shot. I didn't know she was slain with a bullet. So yeah, I didn't know that. And the way I'm going to celebrate is to show information to my grandchildren, because I mean they don't know about Martin. So yeah, that's what I plan on doing.
Yes, great answer. Thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.
Next up is Antoinette Diggs. Go ahead and unmute. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
Yes. Mine is, in what way will you celebrate Dr. King's legacy this weekend? I'll be celebrating my birthday this weekend.
Oh, happy belated.
Sunday. My birthday's Sunday, the 15th.
Oh, happy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Happy
my niece's
belated.
birthday, Antoinette. She be celebrating her birthday as well.
Yes.
But yes, I hope you enjoyed the presentation so far, Antoinette. Okay. Next up is Ms. Portia. Go ahead and unmute. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Portia.
How you doing, everybody?
Good.
I enjoyed the movie, and it's one thing that I want to do. I was telling Lemuel that I wanted to go to Selma and walk across that bridge before I leave here. Yeah, I really would like to do that. I thought that was so heavy. I thought that was so educational, and to see the different people walk across that bridge, it really was an impact in my life. And you know, I was young. I was in high school when they had the March on Washington, and when they had the tent, they had made the city, and it rained the whole time people were there. We went down there every day, and all that mud and all of that. Yes, and that was something that I will never forget. When we went down into the monument or that area where they had the tents, where the people that came from Virginia, West Virginia, all over the United States, I guess all over the world. But they built those tents and they stayed there for like 7 or 8 days. It might have been less than that. But I know that we went down there, and I know that that was very educational. And Martin Luther King had died by then; he had gotten slain. But I appreciate the movie, and I appreciate the presentation. And I ask everybody to have a blessed day.
You too.
Thank you so much, Portia. Thank you for your input. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next up is Michelangelo. Go ahead and unmute. Would you like to answer one of these questions? How's it going, Michael?
Selma. The movie, I didn't really see the movie because I don't like watching stuff like that too much, but I saw the scenes on the news, and that's what brought it to the forefront. It made a great impression on me seeing people being beat, whipped, shot down with fire hoses, and it was, you know, it made an impression on everything that was happening at that particular time. And that's why, you know, people of the world, you know, took notice and stood up and wanted to do something about it. Because that's very gross injustice. But, you know, we're all equal. You believe any color you are, nationality, you want to say nationality, one race, human race, everybody bleeds red. And if you cut one person, hey, they're gonna bleed red just like you, no matter what nationality you are. And also, I just wanted to say, people are wondering why we can't straighten up and act right. The youngins of today don't know what we went through back in the day because they weren't even born. So it's up to us. Well, the youngins that would teach their children, then pass it on, then we would notice. But because they don't teach them, nobody knows. Hey, they think it's always been flowery, rosy, and you know, everything was cool, but it's not like that. You know, so it's not gonna get right until God says so. And hey, it's gonna have to be, you know, that way. That's all I want to say.
Yes. Thank you so much for your words. And I appreciate your input. Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next up is Diane. Go ahead and unmute, Diane. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
Yeah, I was gonna let you all know the city Portia was talking about was called Resurrection City. And it was on the mall. And they had a permit to build the city down there, but once the permit expired 21 days later, the police moved in and cleared them out. Resurrection City. Alex, I know you knew that.
Yeah, there's a lot, you know, regarding his life. All the different things he did, it's just amazing. So just always got to think about the past. So
yes.
Again, thank you for your input, Diane.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is Ms. Dina White. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
A question for you, Alex. Are you aware that Selma, Lord Selma, was an older version of the current Selma that was played with Oprah Winfrey? Oh, you did?
The 20. So we watched the Disney's version, 1999. They came out with Selma in 2014. They redid the movie. So fun fact, I actually I was in choir when I was in high school, so I actually sang helped sing the main song of the movie. So I was able to learn about that movie back you know, back in 2014. So yes.
Okay.
But I hope you enjoyed today, Dina, and thanks as always for your input. Okay, last up, we have someone by the name of Wing Tech. I just asked you to unmute. Go ahead and unmute. Okay, I will have Jonelle Gray. Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, this is
Hi,
actually
Jonelle.
Brigitte. I'm not Jonelle, but I'm Brigitte. I'm
Okay.
white.
Hi, Brigitte. Yes, I nice to see you. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. It's going good. I just wanted to share one of my earliest memories of Martin Luther King. Back, I was like maybe 5 years old, and I lived on Nicholas Avenue, which is now what they call Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. I was right just below St. Elizabeth in some apartments over there, living with my mom. When the riots happened, we had moved away from that area because my mother had gotten chased down the street by a truckload of racial motivated young men. And I remember her coming home with her blouse torn and her face was marred, you know, where she had fallen and whatever. And so I didn't understand then what was going on. So when I became 8 years old, which was when in 1968, when Martin Luther King became, when they assassinated him, when he was assassinated, I distinctly remember looking over down the street, down Martin Luther King Avenue, down the street somewhere. I remember seeing DC was on fire. I remember that. And I also remember the AmLambs. I remember the people writing on their cars and on their windows and their store shop windows, "I'm a soul brother, I'm a soul sister." You know, I don't know if a lot of people remember that, but I remember experiencing that. And as a young child, that was a very, very point in time in my life. And my mother, who is right there, that's my mother right there in that picture, rest her soul. She always made sure that we stayed in an environment of interracial people. Okay. We've always, I grew up in an environment where I was always exposed to all races. Matter of fact, one of my first boyfriends was Hispanic, you know, and she welcomed me with open arms. My granddaughter, whose birthday is on January 15th, she is interracial. You know, she's her mother's Caucasian, and her son, of course, was my son. So I came up in an environment where I never really had experience. But then I remember in the first grade when I went to Bernie Elementary, the teachers would give us placement tests. And I have a copy of that placement test that told me I wanted to be a writer when I was young. And I did achieve that goal. I wrote 2 children's books, is on Amazon and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
I have 2 children's
Great.
books that are published. But the placement test told me and tried to imprint on me, I would be never more than a what you call that thing? A housekeeper.
Oh, wow.
Or yeah, those were placement tests. And I was an A student. As a matter of fact, I had to skip kindergarten and first grade after they did the placement test. Okay, because I excelled in all that stuff. But the point was, we were told at a very young age and discouraged from trying to be what you wanted to be. Okay, and it took a long time for me to erase that memory. And I have the paperwork. I felt like I need to sue DC Public Schools for it. But but it just goes to show all of the ways that we as a people were beat down. It wasn't always physical, it was mental too. Okay, so they told our class, a whole entire class of little kids, they were like, I want to be a president, I want to be a fireman, I want to be this, I want to be that. And then when the placement test came back, the placement test said, you'll never be more than a clerk, or you'll never be more than this, you'll never be more than this. This is what suits you. Wow. Okay, so what my mother taught me was that you can be whoever you want to be.
Yes,
You just have to have, you just have to have the perseverance and the patience, because you can't just go out and be who you want to be. You got to work for it. And so as a result of that, I never stopped, you know. So now I make my own stuff. If you can see my little shop behind me, I make my own things. I make toys. See that? I made that. That's a toy that I make. I make all kinds of things, right? And if it wasn't for her and the fact that she always told us about Martin Luther King, she told us about Frederick Douglass, she took us to all the historical places. I don't know if a lot of you all know, H Street stayed in disrepair for a long time until gentrification came. H Street was the main center of riots.
Right.
All the riots happened on H Street. And you can look over the city and see the glow of the fire. And like I said, huh?
14th Street also.
Yep, 14th up there, 14th and U. The main things that survived were the movie theaters, like the Booker T, the Republic, the Lincoln Theater. All those things survived. But the little mom and pop shops, also what survived was Ben's Chili Bowl. That survived. Ben's Chili Bowl survived. Yes. Howard University survived. The Howard Theater survived. But all of the mom and pop stores, they were gone. They were wiped out, burnt to a crisp. And if you were white, if you were Jewish, if you were Hispanic, if you were anything that was other than Black, your crap got burned down. They burned it all the way down to the ground. And then the city, as a punishment, made sure that it was not rebuilt. As a punishment to show you your actions will have a consequence. And they never rebuilt it. They never rebuilt it. It's just getting rebuilt in the last 10 years. The last 10 years, what you see down on H Street, what you see on U Street, 14th Street, all that's new. And it didn't have anything to do. Yeah, so you just got to remember, history has a lot to play, and it's very important that you talk to your children, your grandchildren, so they know that you are a living part of history.
Amen.
So that's all I got to say.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Bridget. We've learned so much. So thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.
Next up is Ms. Thelma Jarrett. Go ahead and unmute. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
Oh, let me see. Good afternoon first, but my question may go all the way around. But let me get back to the young lady who was speaking on behalf of Southeast Ward 8 Bernie Elementary. I'm a product of Bernie Elementary, class of 1958. I also had the assessment test. It didn't place me in a category like you said you were. My children in their 50s had the assessment test, they came out of Bernie Elementary, and what I learned from Martin Luther, because I thought Martin Luther King at age 13 years old, when I first heard of him in the 60s and all, I thought Martin Luther King was Jesus Christ. Because all I heard was voices coming across South Capitol Street, the bikes and the, you could hear the sound come across the bridge, the South Capitol Street Bridge. Because we stand by Anacostia Park and listen to it all, And so that's how loud it was. Because we seen them come through Suitland Parkway in bus loads. And but that's who I thought it was. He was between my Moses or my Jesus. Because that's what it sounded like. And then they start singing my song, How Many We Remember Just Like You, which was talking about Moses, Jesus, and all. And his speeches, if you listen to his speeches and all, I went to the mountaintop. I seen, the promised land. Them are Moses' words. Then Jesus spoke in in the book of Matthew and all. And everything, well, get off the subject of Christ and all. It seemed like all that happened to tell us it's time for us to get together. It's time for us to stop looking at a color and just help each other. Because what happened, what he showed us, it ain't a color thing, it's a human thing. We're all human. We all deserve the same rights. We all deserve the same education or whatever, whatever you desire to be, is up to you to do it. And everything. Yes. And that still goes on. And it hurts me today is that what's going on now, the color done got the one color. We Black on Black. Now it got even worse. So we're actually, you mean to our children are born to be put to have bullets put in them, or born to have to be killed by guns? And they not even they not even overseas in a war like Vietnam. They in their own hometown in a war. Because this is what we done taught them, you know, even before the guns got popular, shooting and all. When I was coming up, everybody was cutting everything. If you didn't act right, you came to Bird Farm, you got cut up. You know, as simple as that. You came to Southwest, you know, and you know, you got cut up. It was violent then. This ain't new. You know, but we still told it to the children that this is something new what y'all doing. No, they not telling me it ain't nothing new. I used to cut things up when I was young. I ain't had no gun to shoot them up. If I had a gun, I probably did the same thing. But my attitude was I had peer pressure. I used to get jumped walking up and down Martin Luther King Avenue going to Douglas Junior High School. They used to smack me in the back of my head, say, that's Thelma Brown. You know what? If you didn't hear, she'd have a fit. She have seizures like a dog. And I got tired. I couldn't whoop all them girls, so I started cutting up on them. You know, I ain't carry a knife with me, but I can, you know, I crack a soda bottle off feet, see trash in the bushes and find me something to cut them with. So I taught my students that, you know, peer pressure ain't new. You know, it was with me in the 50s and the 60s. It's going to be with you, but, you know, it's how you handle it. So when I had my children, that was a whole lot different, you know, and I started trying to be more of an adult, a smarter adult. And I think it was my buddy, Adolf Caesar. He said, mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I don't know who said it, but if you want to hide something from a black, put it in a book. And when I heard that, I started reading the oldest book I knew, and that was the Bible.
Amen.
And I started learning through that, and what I couldn't learn, and what, you know, what was something like, I want the place what I was reading in today's world. And that's how I came up with that. Martin Luther King was my what? My Moses, my Jesus Christ.
Go ahead.
You know, only thing I regret is when he came in 63, I couldn't get downtown. It was too crowded to even go across the bridge. I wasn't going to stand on South Cal Street Bridge, and they opened that bridge up with a boat with me on there. You know, so I stood by the banks of Anacostia River. Let the boat. But I heard, and when he died, and they brought his casket through Sooner Parkway, we fell out in the sleep. We stopped the traffic. We stopped the hearse. Because we had to pray on that hearse, and we prayed on Martin Luther King's hearse. Then we let him take right across South Capitol Street to the Capitol Road Tunnel.
Do you remember when they used to make those plates? It was Dr. King, it was John F. Kennedy,
and the Kennedy boys
on the same plate.
Yeah, that's what the song is called. How many gonna be remembered just like you, which is the Martin Luther King and the Kennedy boys.
Yeah. They were all on the same
and look,
plate.
getting to the fires. I seen the grown ups marching up
plate
and
like
down
that
17th Street and Sunshine. But you know what? On Martin Luther King, our fires consist of what? They burnt my GGS up, which was a juice store. They burnt my towels cleaner, which was a juice store. They tried to burn my Curtis Brother up, but they couldn't burn that Jew. But they burned all the Jew stores along Martin Luther King Avenue and up on top of Martin Luther King.
They did. They burned
and my buddy Hank was a black shoe shop on Martin Luther King Avenue, right there by Martin Luther King Avenue and Howard Road.
Is the Curtis Brothers
listen, they didn't burn Mason Funeral Home on Martin Luther King Avenue.
They did not.
Hank burned his own shoe shop up so he can get new money and new repairs, and that's what took them so long to repair 8th Street and Martin Luther King. They still can't do Martin Luther King because
they won't do Martin Luther King. It's not that they can't; they won't. My church Matthews is in a program with Washington D.C. that came out under President Obama, American Beautification. And they came and met with us at the church and say, in order for you to stay on this corner as a church, you're gonna have to be remodeled. You're gonna have to come according to everything else. They fixing up everything in D.C. and everywhere.
And so then that's when we said we're gonna be remodeling. Well, we're gonna build ourselves a Matthew apartment building too. Then you say, okay, you can't build it going long. You can't build it this color. You know, you have to have certain color code.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to come up with light pink bricks with blue on our building. Everybody around DC got them colors. And that's color code for middle income up to poor. Is allowed in that building. That's what's going on. Now, my buddy down the street about Bethlehem Church is still squawking because they don't want to renew their church. They have small members and they don't want to make it bigger or pure. They want to keep it old like it is. That church is 144 years old.
And they need
They
to
don't
do
want to touch it, but the government said if you don't touch it, we're going to take it.
Yeah. Remember that?
Yes,
Remember
I
that church
agree.
they
If you
had
come up Martin Luther King, right by Bethlehem Church, they got a brand new 6-story building built almost over top the church. And all
Yeah,
the way
you-
around. They still gonna fix it up and beauty it up, but beautiful up.
Yeah,
You see,
that's what happened.
they just tore my Bird Farm down. I just moved out of Bird Farm in '94.
Yeah, my
When
great
the new
grandmother
one
lived
come,
in
I
there.
can go back. But what
Yes,
they
thank you
doing
so
now,
much,
they
Thelma. We
promised
want to make
that
sure
to
that we
me.
get to everyone. So thank you so
Okay,
much
but
for your
that's what
input,
was done in
Thelma.
1960. Shoot.
Again, thank you so much for your
We
input.
late.
So next up is Yvonne Irvin. Go ahead and unmute. Would you like to answer one of these questions?
Well, thank you so much. And I want to begin just by thanking you for that video on the other day. It was so moving. I found myself in tears. But that was a beautiful, beautiful video about the civil rights movement in Selma. And I wanted to say that among the businesses on U Street that were spared during the assassination of Dr. King was Lee's Florist. Now, Lee's Florist still exists there at 11th and U. And it's a family-owned business. And I'd like for my friends in the iPad class to know about Lee's Florist because they still provide flowers to a lot of our Black churches. And it's a vibrant, very vibrant business. So when you're thinking about sending flowers, think about Lee's Florist, which is right across from Ben's Chili Bowl.
Oh,
and
okay.
The patriarch is Richard Lee, who's also a member of my church, but that's been a very vibrant business. And it did survive the riots of in '68. And they are a God-fearing family-owned business. I also put the name of a book in the chat. It's called How the Word is Passed. I got it from the DC Public Library. You can also get the audio version, but I just wanted the physical book. I like to feel a book in my hands. So I'm reading this book about slavery, and it's pretty long. And if you don't care to read the whole book, you can read it in sections, but it's so informative. And the library has a very liberal policy. So if you don't finish reading it, I think you can renew it as many as 10 times. So do take advantage of checking out a book. I get my books from the Shepherd Park Library on Georgia Avenue, and I picked up the physical book, and I'm about midway through, and I'm learning so much. And I thought I was pretty well informed, but I have learned so much from this book, and I put the title in the chat. So thank you so much for today's lesson, Alex, and I appreciate all the information you and Teresa share with us. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. I hope that everyone learned something new, and I really enjoyed making this presentation for you all. So again, thank you, Yvonne, for your words. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the last thing we do for today is we're gonna do an activity. So if I met Martin Luther King, I would ask him, ... I would tell him, ... I would thank him, ... and or I would show him. So if you'd like to finish the sentence or one of these sentences, please raise your hand and just share what you would ask, tell, thank, or show him. So
Alex, can I intervene? Can we limit to maybe about 5 because the clock is ticking?
yes.
So
Oh, yes. Hi, Teresa. Yes. So I'm looking at the time, so we're take a couple of hands and then we'll be done for today. So first up is Ms. Gracie. Go ahead and unmute.
If I would see him, I would thank him for the sacrifices that he made, which enabled me to be able to vote, because in my hometown, you had to take a test and make a score of 78 or more in order to be a voter. So he did away with, when they opened it up, we were able to get around that. So I'd like to thank him for that, and, you know, just tell him how much everything he did has caused me to be a better person and have a better life. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for your input, Gracie. I hope you enjoyed today and have a great day.
I did.
Okay, go ahead, Anne.
I would thank him for giving his life so that other people could learn that we can live together, profit together, and love together one another. And I would thank him for giving me all of the tools to provide for me to teach my child and my grandchildren that love is the answer, to trust in God, because God is going to show us the light.
Yes, thank you so much, Anne, for your response, and I hope you enjoyed today.
I did. I've enjoyed the whole thing.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else would like to respond? Everyone can unmute themselves. If you'd like to respond, please unmute yourself.
Alex, this is Portia.
Mm-hmm.
I would like, if I happen to see Martin Luther King, I know one day I will see him, but I would like to thank him for everything that he done as far as the civil rights movement was concerned.
Yeah.
And I would like to also thank him for allowing us to be, for giving us, for showing people that there's not about race, it's about love. And that's about, you know, if you can lose everything, but if you don't love a person, there's no, you don't have anything coming. So love is the word. L-O-V-E. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Portia, and your input and your response.
You're welcome.
So yeah, it's 2:45. Again, thank you for coming to today's presentations. Of course, we have our help desk if you need anything regarding your iPad, and those are the emails that you can email to get any assistance. But I learned a lot. I hope, again, you guys did too. Write something down.
Yeah, we
and
did.
it's
We did learn
important
that.
To enjoy your 3-day weekend, and just to recognize Martin Luther King's his efforts and how he sacrificed for others to live in better than he may have. So we'll be back tomorrow in the morning at 10:30. We'll be discussing PayPal and eBay, and we'll be ending this week at 1:30 with the lesson on Zoom. So again, I really enjoyed today, and I hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. If we don't see you on Monday. Yes, Teresa?
I just want to intervene. I'd like to everyone to, I gave Alex this task to do this week about Martin Luther King, and it just amazed me what he did with it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yes,
Great.
for a young
Very good.
person to learn so much and then present it in the way that he did. So I want to give it up to him. Everyone, just give it up to him for the excellent work he did in Martin Luther King.
Yeah, he did a wonderful job.
Alex. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. It always brings me joy.
And if there's any one of you that wants to write, send in an email with a comment saying how he did, it would be, well received.
But
Will do.
okay,
Will do.
he did a good job.
Put it in
He
the email.
certainly did.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank
Really
you,
did.
Alice, old lady.
You out.
Always a
What
pleasure.
me?
Again, let's have a great start tomorrow in the morning.
Yeah.
And
Excuse me.
again, it's always been a pleasure. So thank you
All right.
for your kind
Thank
words,
you.
Teresa and everyone else. And everyone have a great day.
And you
You
don't know
too,
how
man.
to
too.
operate.
Thanks
too,
for
Alex.
that, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank
See
you.
you
all
all
Have a
tomorrow.
good
tomorrow.
day.
And Mama
Okay,
told
thank
you
you. Good
well.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yes,
See
indeed.
you all
Tomorrow
tomorrow.
Friday. We here tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah,
Girl, look at your calendar.
All
Don't
right
say
now.
have a good weekend because I won't be there tomorrow.
Yeah, somebody.